Hi, my name is Kim Newcomer, and I am the leader of a sewing project for Ramona Stars 4-H. And today we are going to be making a little drawstring pouch. If you're getting a kit from me, you'll get something like this that has the following items in it. You will have a pattern, you will have a safety pin, you'll have a piece of ribbon, and you'll have 2 pieces of fabric. I want to tell you the other tools that you need for the project are you'll need some pins, you'll need scissors, you'll need a measuring device. This could be a ruler, it could be measuring tape. You'll need some sort of a device to turn out corners, and then you'll need some chalk, of course, an ironing board and a sewing machine. All right, now let's get started. I'm going to iron the fabric. I'm using a cotton, which is a really straightforward fabric to work with. And I've got my iron on the cotton setting. Be careful with the steam. I'll flip it over and make sure it looks ironed on both sides. Okay. Well, my fabric is ready. Let's go ahead and lay out our pattern. Just going to line these up a little bit better. We'll lay our pattern on top. Just make it fit on there. And then trace around the perimeter of your pattern. It doesn't have to be perfect. There you go. Set aside your pattern and then cut out your pattern pieces. So you've got 2 pieces, and cut them together. Just cut away from yourself. Take your pattern pieces or your actual pieces and decide which way you want to be up and down. I think I'm going to do this, the pattern up. I think these will both be the up side, and I'm going to turn them right sides together. I'll place them right sides together, lay them out nice and flat. Then I'm going to use my ruler. So take your ruler and place it up on that top edge, the one you decided was the top edge. From that top edge, you're going to lay your ruler down, the edge, close to the edge, and you're going to mark down at 2 inches. And you're going to go up to 1 inch from that top edge, and then a 1/2 inch from that top edge. And do that on all the edges at the top. 1 inch, 1/2 inch, and 2 inches. I'm going to flip it over. It's not really important exactly where they are. 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inches. It's just important you get them on all edges, and that way you don't have to worry about which way you fold. There we go. Alright, so we've got the top marked, and we're ready to sew the perimeter. So I'm going to get my sewing machine over here. We're going to stitch. We're going to do 5/8 inch seams. So we're going to bring our fabric over here. We're going to lay it down. We're going to line up the edge of the fabric with 5/8. Then we're going to drop our needle down. Make sure your threads are out. Drop your needle down at the end of the fabric. And you're going to stitch down to the 1 inch mark. So not the first mark, the second mark. So go a few stitches, do a back stitch, then start sewing down to that 1 inch mark. And then do a little back stitch. Then lift up your pressure foot, pull the thread out, and then move yourself up to the 2 inch mark and drop your needle down 5/8 inch seam down at the 2 inch mark. Begin stitching. This time you're going to stitch forward and back a little bit, and then just stitch all the way around. where it's about 5/8. Lift your pressure foot, drop it down. Get to the corner at 5/8, drop your needle, lift your pressure foot, turn your fabric, and then finish up with 5/8 on that last side, all the way up this time. No break in it here. At the end, you're going to do a little back stitching, and then raise your pressure foot, and let's trim off all these extra pieces of thread. I'm going to come here where I skipped. So I sewed. Let me just trim the seams and I'll show you. You can see I sewed from the top edge down to the 1-inch mark, back stitched at both ends. Then I skipped a space and I started sewing again at the 2-inch mark. Did a little back stitching at the front and then sewed all the way around. All right, now we're ready to do a little finishing. I'm going to trim the bottom corners. This is that top edge up here. And the bottom corners, I'm just going to trim out a little bulk. Trim those corners out so when it turns, it'll be a nice corner. And then I'm going to make the casing for the ribbon. First thing you're going to do is you're going to open it up and you'll see your seams. There's the one with the opening, so I can stick my finger through that. This one, you're going to iron it open. All right, this seam that has the opening, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to use scissors and you're going to trim a little cutout in here. You're not going to cut all the way the 5/8 inch seam. You're going to go about to 1/4 inch from the seam and you're going to cut that out. So you made a little divot in your side seam. And then you're going to open it up and you're going to iron that flat. So be careful, get a parent to come and help you. This can be a little tricky here to open the seam up and see I've got that area that I cut, and you're going to iron that flat. So be careful when you're ironing. There we go. That one's going to be an open iron. And this side, you're actually going to lay this seam all the way to one side and iron that nice and flat. Just get in there and do a little ironing down to that 2-inch mark. All right, so now you get that open seam and you've got this one to the side. Now this is where the marks on the fabric come in. You will begin by folding down at the 1/2 inch mark to the 1-inch mark. So your fabric will fold down to that 1-inch mark, and then you're going to take that next fold and bring it down to touch at the 2-inch mark. So we're making that casing. We fold at the 1/2 inch to the 1-inch, and then we take the folded edge and bring it down to that 2-inch mark. And we place a pin there. And then go to the open side, and same thing. This is a little trickier because your your marks are underneath your seam, but you see where that is. You're going to grab a 1/2 inch, you're going to fold it down about to where that cutout is, and then you're going to fold that down to your 2-inch mark. There we go. That's a little bit big. There we go, to the 2-inch mark. And get a pin and pin that in place. And you'll notice that now we have this little opening, and that's where we're going to put our drawstring. All right, the next part is kind of fun. Grab both of those edges that you just pinned and pull your fabric and take your fingers and roll under the edge. And you should get it to lay nice. You should get it to roll nicely like that. Look on the other side. Again, just pull the fabric and then use your fingers to roll under that edge. We're trying to do the same sort of seam allowances rolled. Now you've got both sides done. You can finger press it, just make it hold in place, and then you can take and iron it. Careful again, don't burn your fingers. Just iron in between those two pins on the ends. Okay. There you go. All right. And then you will, this is a little bit thin. I'm going to turn that under a little bit more because it was a little thin. Okay, now take your pins and just put a couple of pins in just to hold this seam in place while you sew. There you go. And we're going to start stitching, and we'll stitch all the way around. I'm going to start at this open seam where I have my opening, and I bring my sewing machine back over. I'm going to put this in. If you have a machine like this one, you can pull this off and have a big opening to slide your pocket in. You're really lucky, and that's super nice to do. If you don't, no worries. You can do it this way. You have to be very careful. You take your fabric and the edge you're sewing, you lay it down and you pooch the other side up, and you make sure you're not caught. I'm going to actually take advantage of this. I think a lot of you will have sewing machines that have that arm that comes off. This is really handy for making cuffs on shirt sleeves. Okay, so you're going to come to the lower edge of that little turn down area. You are going to pull your little pocket over here. We're going to sew close to this lower folded edge. So I'm going to come close to this seam that's open. I'm going to drop my needle pretty close to that seam. Put my pressure foot down, take out any straight needles that are there, and then begin to sew close to that lower folded edge. Do a little back stitch there, and then go all the way around. Continue sewing around. We're just trying to get our 3/8 inch ribbon, so you just got to have an opening that's big enough for that. I'm going to remove my straight pins as I go around. We're at that other edge. I've joined back up where I started, so I'll do a little back stitch there, lift my pressure foot, pull this out, and then trim off these extra threads, get them out of the way. Now I've got this sewn all the way around, and I have my little opening here for where we're going to put our ribbon. Next thing we're going to do is put our ribbon in. But first we're going to turn it right side out. So I'm going to pooch each of the corners in. I'm going to use, this is called a bodkin, to tease those little corners out. Like that. There, it's right side out, and it's easier to iron this while it doesn't have the ribbon in. So I'm going to take a moment to get these edges pulled out, kind of finger press it, and then do a quick iron. Get those edges out. Now it's ironed, and we're ready to thread the ribbon through. Now one thing I want you to notice is this is our opening where we're going to put the ribbon in. And the other side, remember we folded the seam one direction. You can feel it with your fingers where the bulk is. And on my side, it's on this side. So I want to have my ribbon coming in this direction. So I want it coming this direction, which means that when I thread through, I want to go this direction in, then I'll come around, I'll go through this seam and it'll go in nice and easy. It won't go through the bulk, and then it'll come out this side. So take your ribbon, run your pin in and up through your ribbon. So now your pin is secure in your ribbon. And I wanted to go, I don't want to go this direction or I'll get stuck on that bulk. So I want to go that direction. All right, now we're going to put our pin in, the head of the pin into that opening. We use our thumb to push it in. Then we use our other hand to slide more fabric onto that pin. And use your pointer finger to grab it. Then grab the pin, hold the pin with that other hand, and now use this hand to pull the fabric through. So your ribbon is going through. So I'm going to push with my thumb, and I'm going to use my other hand to pull, pull, pull. Push with my thumb, use my other hand to pull fabric onto that pin, push it through. Here's that tricky part. I'm just easily went through that seam. If I went the other direction, it would be really hard. So push fabric on, push the pin with your thumb, hold it, and push fabric on. Keep pushing. You're getting really close to the end here. You can kind of pull the fabric this way, it'll draw the ribbon in. Keep pushing, and here's a little tricky part. You don't want to get caught up on the seam. Just work the head of the pin out that opening, grab the pin, and then pull fabric. And you should be able to, if you hold the opposite end of the pocket, you should be able to pull on that ribbon and get it to pull through to where the ends are even. Take the pin off, and you're almost done. Now we're gonna put knots in the end. So I just do an overhand knot. I go around and under, make a little knot at the end, around and under. Make a little knot at that end, and your drawstring bag is done. To draw it closed, grab the fabric up near the ribbon and just gently pull. Push that thickness over to the other edge, and you've got a neat little drawstring bag. There you are. Enjoy.